everyone, welcome back to our channel. We are the Northern Sewl Sisters and I am Tamlyn. I'm going to be kicking off today's video, and in this video we're going to be talking to you all about our Avenir jumpsuits. So we had a little trip planned, and that was to Leeds, taking us right back to the very first day that we spent together. And we decided to sew up the same pattern. So we did that the first time. We did the Friday Pattern Company patina blouse last time, and it was really fun, us all making a different version of that in different fabrics and wearing it on the day. We decided to do the same again for this year's Leeds trip, and I think I suggested the Avenir jumpsuit. It was something that had been in my mind for a few weeks that I'd wanted to make, and I thought it would be perfect for a day wandering around Leeds, doing some shopping, some eating, some drinking, but also I thought it was a pattern that would suit all of us. So I suggested it, and luckily the girls were up for it. So we're going to, in this video, talk to you about the pattern, and then we're each going to share our versions of the pattern to see what you think. So the pattern is by Friday Pattern Company, who are one of my absolute favourite pattern companies. I think their styling is awesome, their patterns are really current and wearable. I think their resources that come along with their patterns are great. They always have a YouTube sew along for each pattern, and then they also have blog posts with different hacks, which I think is really good too. So the pattern was actually released quite a few years ago now, but then it was discontinued, and it has recently been re-released in their full size range, which goes from extra small up to 7X, and it's also changed slightly. So the original version of the pattern could be made in wovens or knits. Now this version of the pattern is just designed for woven fabrics. However, I have recently seen a knit version by the very gorgeous Sally. She made it in viscose jersey and it looks incredible. So it can definitely be made in knits too, but the pattern itself is designed for woven fabrics. So the pattern is described as an easy to sew jumpsuit with billowy sleeves and wide legs. It's almost as comfortable as pyjamas, and I have to agree with that, but it's still styling enough to wear to dinner with friends. You've got elastic that gathers in the neck, and you've also got elastic that gathers in the waist, and that gives a really comfortable, easy fit. So there's no tricky fastenings, there's no zips, there's no buttons. It's really easy to sew up. It's really forgiving fit-wise, and it's actually really comfortable to wear. So you also have options for short sleeves or long sleeves. So I've got a short sleeve here, but there is a long sleeve option that then gathers into a little elasticated cuff as well. So I mentioned the size range goes from extra small up to 7X. So that takes you from a 32-inch chest up to a 60-inch chest, a 24-inch waist up to a 53-inch waist, and a 34-inch hip up to a 63-inch hip. So it's a really great size range on this pattern. It is available as both a PDF and a paper pattern, so that fits everybody's needs, I think. I think the PDF has projector files as well, which is great. I say great, I don't have a projector, I don't do projector sewing, but I know a lot of people do, so it's great to have that option. And also in terms of notions that you need, you don't really need much for this pattern. You just need obviously your fabric, but then you need your elastic, and you need just a safety pin or a turning tool to get that elastic to go through the channel. So the fabric that I decided to go for is a viscose. This is from First for Fabrics, where I work, and I'd been eyeing it up for a little while. Something about the black background and the really bold, vibrant floral just really grabbed me, and I thought it would make a really awesome jumpsuit. So this is what I went for. For my size of the pattern, I decided to go for a medium, and it said that I needed 2.2 meters of fabric. I thought I'd try and be a little bit sneaky and cheap, and I just actually got 2 meters of fabric, and I thought I'll be fine. And when it came to cutting out, it was not fine. I didn't have enough for my sleeves, so I had to go back to work and purchase a bit more of the fabric. So yeah, maybe don't try and be cheap when it comes to the fabric requirements. I know most patterns you can get out of less fabric than is recommended, but this time it wasn't the case. I needed that full 2.2 meters of fabric. So I mentioned sizing. When I was choosing my size, I first of all had a look at the body measurements. So my body measurements, my bust is around a 37-inch, my waist is around a 30-inch, and then my hip is 40 to 41-inch, depending you know, how things are going at the time. So that put me in a medium for the bust and then a large for the waist and the hip. However, from seeing other people that have made this pattern and also looking at the finished measurements, I knew it was an oversized pattern. So I decided to just size down for a medium for the whole thing rather than grading or anything. I didn't feel like I needed to. The legs are wide legged anyway, so the hip measurement would be fine. Hi, Chester. The waist you bring in with elastic, so I could just shorten that elastic to give me that definition that I really love. So I felt like the medium would be a great size for me. So yes, I cut out my medium and I got sewing. It's a really straightforward sew. Friday Pattern Company instructions are always amazing, and as I said, they do have a YouTube sew along. I didn't watch it for this pattern, but it is there if you want to watch it. You could even ignore the instructions and just sew along with the YouTube video. I know some people do that if they're more visual learners. A couple of daft little things that I did. So I knew the seam allowance was 3/8 of an inch. Friday Pattern Company seam allowance is always 3/8 of an inch. I knew that going into sewing it, but for some reason I didn't move my needle along on my machine, which is what I need to do to set my 3/8 of an inch. I need to move my needle along and then I line up the fabric with the edge of my foot, and that's my 3/8. I knew that. And I just forgot to do it. So I actually sewed mine at 4/8 of an inch, so half an inch basically. And I only realised this once I'd sewn up the bodice. And I went and tried it on and it was absolutely fine. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick with 4/8 of an inch for the whole thing rather than now switching back. I'll just carry on. So mine is a medium with a slightly bigger seam allowance than was intended. And the size is great. Chester, you're going to snag my fabric if you're doing that. As I said, it did come together really quickly, but I did find hemming it a little bit tricky. I don't know if that's because I was doing this late at night. As you know, I'm a bit of a last minute Larry and I tend to do things just before I need to. So I was hemming my sleeves and my legs the night before and actually the morning of my trip to Leeds. So I found it a little bit tricky. Just I think with the size of the jumpsuit and you couldn't get those pieces around the edge of your ironing board, so I just found it a little bit tricky to do the pressing and the hemming of it. But it might just be because I was tired, it was late at night, it was early in the morning, maybe the hem wasn't tricky at all. What I ended up doing for the sleeves was they suggest a 1/2 inch press and then a 1.5 inch press and then to top stitch that down. I just did 1 inch and then 1 inch. I find that easier because you can do your first 1 inch and press it and then you just fold over the same amount again. I found that a lot easier, so that's what I did. I still came out with the sleeves the same length as the pattern intended, but my hem is just a double fold hem rather than a smaller and then a larger fold, if that makes sense. Now, I really like this. I think it takes some getting used to for me because I'm not really used to having something quite so covered up, like the whole of my body is covered up, and it does feel ever so slightly pajama-y, but it's dressy enough to not look like pajamas. I guess it just feels so comfortable and it has that kind of loungewear feel to it, which I guess is part of the charm. So I really do love it. I wore it with a belt on the day and that just gave me a little bit of extra waist definition, although it made going to the toilet even trickier because I had to undo the belt first and then pull the whole thing down. I wore it with Converse, like platform Converse. I've just got it on with some flip-flops now and that works as well. But there's just one little issue, and we all had the same issue when I was talking to Rachel and Ruan on the day. We all had the same issue, and it's with the elastic in the neckline. So you've got elastic in here, and what I ended up doing was actually stitching it in these seam lines here just to try and keep it flat, but it still just twists around. And I think it was Angela from Devon Thread Tales that I was watching, and she was having the same issue as well. So the elastic doesn't sit flat in the channel. The reason for that is that the elastic is a certain width, but then your channel is quite a bit wider than that. Rather than it being a snug fit inside that channel, you've got your elastic and then you've got, like, I don't know, a few millimeters extra. So it just gives that space for it to twist round, and it's quite annoying, if I'm honest, and I need to fix it because it's probably going to put me off wearing it if it continues to be like that. So if you've got any suggestions, we were talking about maybe just running a line of top stitching through it, or just sewing the channel smaller so it is more of a snug fit. So what do you think? What would you suggest? If you've sewn the Avenir, did you find the same problem? Maybe I just need to use a wider elastic, but I've used the correct width of elastic that was suggested in the pattern. So yeah, that's my only qualm, let's say. Is that the word? My only issue with the pattern is this elastic here. You can wear it kind of off the shoulder, which I think looks really cute, but I don't know, it just doesn't quite feel comfortable. It might look nice for a photo, or yeah, probably just a photo opportunity, but the actual practicalities of that, it just kind of goes back up again, so it doesn't really work as off the shoulder, I don't think. So let's just stand up and see if I can show you a little bit more. Obviously Rachel will put some photos in to show you the whole look, but let's show you. So you can see you've got this sort of billowy bodice section. Here's my elastic, and I've got that quite tight. I can't remember if I just used the exact measurement. I think I did. I think I just used the recommended measurement for my size. I don't think I made it any smaller, although I could be wrong. Got quite a nice fit across the bum. You've got pockets here, and the pockets are a really great size. I think they're fabulous. Then you've got your lovely wide legs, and then I'm not really going to be able to show you, but the trousers come down to sort of ankle length. So yes, there is my Avenir. I do really love it, and I think I will actually make another one quite soon, because wearing it now, it just feels so comfortable. I just need to sort out this little issue here, and then we're good to go. So I'm going to pass you over to my other gorgeous Northern Sewl sisters so they can share their versions with you. Enjoy!
Hi, it's Ruan. Thank you very much, Tamlyn, for giving us the rundown on your Avenir jumpsuit. By the way, you look beautiful. So yeah, it's my turn to talk about mine. Now, obviously, Tamlyn has given you majority of the information on it, which is really good. So she's done all of the introduction. So hopefully, if I don't waffle on too much, mine won't be that long. But as you can see, I'm wearing mine today, and I have to say that I do really love this pattern. Now, Tamlyn mentioned that she thinks it was her idea that we all make this pattern, and she's absolutely right, it was her idea. And at first, I was like, yeah, let's do it, I love a jumpsuit. And then I remember slowly thinking about it and thinking, I just don't know if that's going to work for my body shape, I'm just not sure. So I was messaging the girls, and I was like, oh, I'm having second thoughts, I don't really know what to do. Would I wear it daytime? And then I thought, do you know what? Why don't you pick a fabric that would kind of take you into the evening, maybe out for a nice meal or on holiday in an evening. So that's what I did. And obviously, I went for leopard print. I swear 50% of my wardrobe is leopard print. But anyway, it don't matter because I love it. So yeah, so I went for this gorgeous black viscose poplin leopard print, and I got this when I visited First Fabrics when I was at the Tamlyn Sewn last time. Yeah, so I wanted something that would take me kind of from day to evening, really, so that I would have the maximum amount of use for it. And I must admit, when I looked at the style of the pattern, I did think I would probably wear it more off the shoulder. However, it was a really nice surprise when I actually made it and wore it like this. I quite liked the shape on me, so I was more than happy with that. And it does sit better like this, I think. I know, again, Tamlyn touched on that in her part, that actually it's a bit difficult for it to stay off the shoulder. But anywho, so yeah, I made it in this fabric. It's really lovely. It's got really nice flow to it, but it's also not really thin, so it's got a bit of weight to it, and it's not see-through at all. It pressed like a dream, and I just have to say that I really enjoyed making this garment, basically. So let's talk measurements for my body. So my body is a 43 bust, a 38 waist, and a 46 hip. So I should have fallen into an XL on the bust and an XXL on the waist and the hips. However, from the research we've all done, we could see that it was very oversized and it was meant to be very billowy. And I didn't want it to be too billowy because I didn't want it to accentuate the bigger parts of my body, which is my waist and my hips. So I did downsize one size. So I did an L on the bust and an XL on the waist and the hips. And that still gave me 2.5 inches of ease on the bust, 9 inches of ease on the waist, which again doesn't really matter because you're cinching it in with elastic, and then 5.5 inches on the hips. And I'm glad I didn't go down any further on the hips because I'm sat down now and it's really comfy. I mean, I probably could have gone down one more, but I like the fit. I'm incredibly happy with how this fits my body. And yeah, it is the comfiest thing I think I've ever worn. It's just so comfy because it's trousers, but also a top. It's just all in one. You don't even have to work out your outfit. You just wang some shoes on, put a bag on and you're off. So yeah, I do love it for that purpose. And I think what I'll probably do is I'll wear this on holiday, maybe with some gold sandals and some gold accessories and a nice bag. But then equally I could wear it for the daytime. So I wore it with some white Converse pumps when we went out and a little denim jacket. So you can dress it down as well. So as far as that's concerned, it hits every single button that I want really in a garment because I can use it for multiple occasions. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. The construction was delightful. There was absolutely no issues whatsoever with the construction of it whatsoever. I just loved it. It does say in the instructions to mark which side is the front and back because they are very similar, obviously, and for you to then hold the garment up and look at it, you'd be like, which way is the front, which way is the back? So it does tell you to mark that. The other thing that I liked about the instructions as well is it does give you like a sewing steps overview as well at the beginning. So for example, if you are very experienced in sewing and you're like, I don't really follow the rules and I'm not really bothered about how they construct it, I know what I'm doing, you've got that just as a little reference. So you've got 3 things really with the Friday Pattern Company instructions. You've got the detailed instructions, you've got the very brief bullet point instructions, and then you've got the YouTube video as well. So I think, you know, some people say when they're buying a indie pattern, oh, they're really expensive, and I understand that, but that's where we get a lot for our money when you think about it, because that is appealing to every single type of learning style. So not only are you just getting that pattern, you're getting loads of different types of instructions as well, and a YouTube video along the way. So I do think it is definitely worth the money. Now, like I said, this is probably one of the comfiest things ever for me. It's drafted for 5'6". Now I am 5'8", and I wanted it to be quite long. So I did add on, let me just double check, 3 inches to the leg length. I didn't add any onto the bodice, and I'm really happy with that. Because I'm tall, automatically sometimes I go to lengthen bodices, but actually the top proportion of my body isn't for a tall person. It's really the bottom part of my body. So I'm learning now to maybe not think about increasing the bodice length of patterns, but to just do the bottom half. So I'm really, really happy with that, where that kind of sits on me. So let me just see if I can show you. I'll move you. Right, I've moved you into position a bit. I got cut off then. I pressed the wrong button by accident. No change there with me. Let's see if you can then. So this is my jumpsuit. The lighting's not great, I appreciate. But yeah, I'm super, super happy. So you can see the length here. It's quite long on me, but that's how I wanted it. So the bodice comes to here. I mean, obviously you can lift it up like Simon Cowell if you want, or you can pull it down a little bit depending on where you like it to sit. I quite like it on my natural waist here. And these are the pockets, and the pockets go right the way down to there, which is amazing. The only thing for me is because I've got quite wide hips, that the pockets, you know, if they're not, because it's in a viscose, are very flowy, sometimes it can stick out a little bit. Can you see here? One side like sits really well, and then because it's puckering in here because it's elasticated. But anyhow, it is what it is. And to be honest, I absolutely love it. Now, I got mine printed onto, I use the AO prints. Like Tamlyn mentioned, there's A4, A0 and projector files, which is fantastic. I printed mine out with CLC prints this time because Fabuloso were on holiday and it was fantastic service. Their pattern printing is more thicker paper than the Fabuloso stuff. I quite like the thinner paper though, personally. But yeah, and it was on 4 AO sheets because obviously it's a big pattern. But it was worth it, and I will definitely make this again, considering I wasn't too sure about it. Now I absolutely love it because it's just so comfy to wear. And I think fabric choice is definitely going to be the way forward on this pattern for individual people and individual people's styles. You know, if you want to go really casual, it wants to be like a daytime vibe. I could imagine like a linen or a really nice flowy linen viscose or something like that would be amazing for this. But then if you want to go really glam, you could go obviously as glam as you want. But yeah, what can I say about it other than I love it? Like Tamlyn said, the only issue we all had was that this elastic in here can flip over a little bit, but it's not a reason for me to never make it again because it doesn't bother me too much. It's just something that could do with being ironed out, I think. But yeah, super happy. I love the sleeve length, absolutely no issue for me. Maybe do what Tamlyn did next time when I make it and just do it up 1 inch and then another inch just to make it a bit easier. But other than that, it's finished beautifully inside because I overlocked it all and I'm just super happy with it. So yeah, I think it was a resounding success, I think, for all 3 of us, but you'll have to wait and see what Rachel thought about hers. So I'm going to pass you on to her now. Take care. Bye.
Hello, it's my turn now to talk to you about my Avenir, and thank you to Tamlyn for introducing this gorgeous make and all about the pattern. So you've heard all about that already, and both Tamlyn and Ruan look incredible. I'm sure you will all agree. So yes, we made the Avenir this time and I love mine. So we are a few months ahead now, I have to just say that, and that is completely my fault. You know, I have to hold my hands up and apologise profusely to my gorgeous girls because time has just run away with us, and we made the Avenir to wear to our meetup in Leeds, which was last year. And yeah, it's just been one of those things. But anyway, we're finally here to tell you all about it. So it was fantastic. We had a great day, and I'm going to put some pictures in at the end of this vlog of each of us that we took on the day, so you can see us all in our Avenirs and how much fun we had. It was a great day. But yeah, let me tell you all about my version. Now, I made this obviously well before I had my surgery back in September, so it doesn't fit the way it fit back then, which you will probably see from the photos. But let me just talk you through a little bit about the fabric choice I made and also the pattern sizing and etc. that I ended up choosing at the time. So basically, I have wanted to make this pattern for a long time, and when Tamlyn suggested it, I thought, great idea. The reason I had not made it up to this point was fabric choice, because one of the things I've mentioned on my own channel before is that with a jumpsuit, I have this thing that if you're not careful, it can look very pajama-esque, and I don't want to look like I'm wearing pajamas when I'm wearing a jumpsuit. It's just a very personal thing to me, and yeah, I'm just not one of these really cool girls that can pull off these amazing looking clothes and they look incredible no matter what they wear. It's just not me. So I know if I pick the wrong fabric for a jumpsuit, I'm just going to look ridiculous. That's me. But anyway, I wanted to choose something with a print because at the time I was having lots of anxiety over my body shape, etc. And I wanted to disguise some of the things that I wanted to disguise. And also with that in mind, I wanted to choose a print that would still work for not giving me the pajama vibe that I didn't want, but also, you know, that I would feel comfortable in and feel body positive in, shall we say. So it took a while for me to choose something, but then I had this beautiful Atelier Jupe fabric in my stash that I think I originally got from Andrea at Beyond the Pink Door, and I knew I had enough of this fabric to make the Avenir, and I thought, this is the one that hits all the boxes. It basically will cover the flaws that I don't want to exaggerate at the moment, but also it will make me feel confident. But also I think the print works so well as a jumpsuit because it's everything that I love. Basically, it's got leaves and it's tropical vibes, and yeah, I was thrilled with my fabric and pattern pairing. So this is a viscose fabric. It's 100% viscose. As I say, it's an Atelier Jupe fabric. It's probably out of print now because it was one of their collections from a couple of years ago, so there might still be some knocking around in maybe some de-stash groups, or on maybe some fabric stores might still have the odd piece. But the thing with Atelier Jupe fabrics is that they release their fabrics in collections, and they only release them in small quantities. So if it's something you love, you need to grab it there and then. And I'm really glad that I grabbed this. I hauled it out of my stash and set to work in making this pattern up. So when it came to choosing a size for Friday Pattern Company, at the time, my Friday Pattern Company size, shall we say, was usually around a medium to large top and a large to XL bottom. And as Tamlyn and Ruan have already explained, we all knew from our research on this pattern that there was a bit of an inkling that this was going to come up quite large. But, you know, it's supposed to be a loose fit anyway. It's definitely not a fitted style. It's a loose drapey fit with wide leg trousers. So I went for a medium top, which fit my body measurements, and the same at the waist, and then graded to an XL at the bottom. I decided that I wanted lots and lots of room in the bottom half, and that worked out perfectly for me. Plus, I also thought, you know, if I want to take it in a little bit, I can do once I've made it up. But you can't add fabric on once you've cut it. That's the big thing. So I'm really glad that I went for that size at the time. As it is now, it's getting a little bit big for me because I have lost weight. And yeah, it's starting to feel very, very loose on me, which is a real shame. But, you know, I will take it in as much as I can so that I can still get lots of wear out of it, because I love this jumpsuit. It is so easy to put on. There are no fastenings on it, you know, there's no zips, there's no buttons. It's just got elastic round the neck, as you've already heard, and the waist, so it's literally a pull down when you go to the bathroom and pull it back up again and you're done. So it's so easy to wear, and because of that, it's a jumpsuit that I reach for time and time again. I love jumpsuits, but when they've got lots of fastenings like buttons and zips and things like that, it's always a bit of a, oh, I'm lazy, I'll just choose something that I can just throw on and not have to worry about when I go to the bathroom. And that's the only thing that sometimes puts me off with jumpsuits. But with this one, there's none of that. It's great. So I did make some adjustments to my version, and I needed to lengthen it because I'm 5'10", and this pattern, as Ruan has already said, is designed for about 5'6" height. So that's one of the things that you have to think about with a jumpsuit, because, you know, if you're making a top, you can lengthen it or shorten it as you need to. Same with trousers, but obviously these are joined together. So you've got the making sure that in the body length to your crotch that everything is not going to be too long or too short. And that is a little bit of a skill to achieve. But I, at the time, had to usually lengthen most crotches on garments. I don't need to do that anymore, but I did with this. I lengthened the crotch by about 1/2 inch. I also lengthened the bodice length by 1 inch, which is my standard lengthening adjustment to most bodice patterns because I do have quite a long torso. And then I also added on 1.5 to 2 inches on the legs as well, because I wanted them to be very long, basically. And I'm really glad with those measurements. At the time when I made this jumpsuit, it worked perfectly, but as things are now, my body shape has changed quite significantly over the last 6 months, and that extra in the crotch is too much for me now. I don't need that anymore. I don't need to do any crotch adjustments now. And so because of that, it is too long in the crotch, as you will see when I stand up and show you. But, you know, it is what it is, and I can work with it. I think the beauty of having the elastic waist means that you can pull it up and have it billowing over, and it still looks and works for this style of jumpsuit. So, you know, it's something that I can work with, and, you know, I'll still get plenty of wear out of it as it is now. So, but yes, if I made it again, and I absolutely would make this pattern again. I love Friday Pattern Company patterns. I think they're amazing. One of the things that I love about them is that their instructions have a different way of reading them dependent on what device you're using. So they have a mobile friendly version, so you don't always have to print the instructions out, which is great because it just means it's easy to flip from either a laptop or an iPad or you know, your phone or whatever, and the instructions will read perfectly as they were intended. But yes, if I made this again, I would definitely not add in any extra length in the crotch. I don't need that anymore. The only thing I would say about it, you know, there are a couple of negatives, I'll be honest. And when I say negatives, these are things that I would tweak for my next version, not related to the sizing, because that's always going to be different if you're a bit of a yo-yoer like I am with my weight and size. But I do think, firstly, the pocket is a little bit of an odd shape. So I've got the pocket piece here to show you. This is the shape of the pocket. And what I mean by it is obviously they are side seam pockets, which I will come to that in a second as well. But I do think they're quite narrow here and really deep. And I love the deepness of the pocket. It's great to sort of stick your hand in that go far down so you can, you know, put loads of snacks in there if you really want to. But I think that they just need to be wider because it doesn't feel balanced. When your hands are in your pockets, they do, I have big hands anyway, but they do, this bit here does feel quite narrow. So I feel like my hand is at the edge of the pocket, but there's still loads of space at the bottom. So it just feels a little bit out of proportion for me. So I think for the next version, I would actually widen this to make it a really deep pocket for my huge hands. And I think that would just feel better for me. But obviously, you know, you might not have gigantic hands like me and it not be an issue. So anyway, that's that. I think as well, when I made this, I didn't do inset inseam pockets, and I don't want to plug my own channel because I'm working with the girls today, but I have done a tutorial on my own stitched up channel about how to do side seam pockets that don't sort of bag out a bit. And I think that's the thing when you're using viscose and using drapey fabrics, which is what you need for this type of garment. Sometimes, you know, if you're a bit hippie like, well, a lot hippie like I am, you know, the side seam pockets can just add a bit of extra on the area that you don't want to emphasize, and it can just look a bit sloppy, I guess. And in this version, it looks a bit sloppy on me. So I think if I was going to do this again, I would do the inset side seam pockets, or I would maybe change the pocket altogether to like a curved seam front pocket or slash front pocket. It's a very simple, you know, tweak to make, I guess, and I would maybe do that. The other thing that you could do is you could actually stabilize the edges of the pocket with some stabilizing tape, and I think that would just add a little bit of extra structure so that it would hold the shape a little bit better and not look as sloppy. I think mine looks a bit sloppy, I'll be honest. The other thing I would possibly change for next time as well is the elastic in the waist is quite narrow, and I think from what I can remember, it's about what I've got in the waist is about 3/4 of an inch, something like that. And I prefer deeper waistband elastic. I just think it looks better for me personally. So I think next time I would add on a little bit extra to the bodice and the trousers at the top waistline so that I could create a wider casing and add wider elastic in, because I just prefer that look. And I know the girls have already touched on the neckline as well. What's odd about it is that the casing that you make, the size that you make, is actually a lot larger than the size of the elastic she tells you to insert. So consequently, the casing is wider than the elastic, so it's got a lot of room to maneuver and it constantly twists around. So yeah, it's a bit of an irritation, I would say, more than anything. And I know Tamlyn and I mentioned this when we met up, that we would possibly top stitch it to keep it in place, because it does keep wanting to flip and twist, etc., and that is a bit annoying around your neckline. This one is twisted at the moment and it's driving me up the wall, I'll be honest. So yeah, if I did it again, I would probably narrow the casing. I wouldn't want any wider casing in the neckline. I think this is wide enough around your neckline, so I would probably narrow the casing so that the elastic just fit in the space that's available, and then it's not going to be able to twist around, if that makes sense. But otherwise, it's a fantastic jumpsuit. I would love to make this again into like a little play suit. I think that would be great for summer, and I'm considering doing that to make one for my holiday that's coming up in May, which would be really lovely because it's such an easy piece to throw on and wear and still look really stylish. So I'm going to stand up and show you what mine looks like, and then you can see what you think. Here is my Avenir, and as you can see, I have a lot of room in these now, and excuse me for grabbing my crotch, but I just want to show you the crotch depth. So yeah, I have got a lot of extra fabric in this area now, which I don't really need, but as I explained, you can, you know, just sort of pull it up a little bit and it's absolutely fine. My hands are at the bottom of the pockets here, which come right down my thighs, but as I say, I do love the deep pockets. I just wish they were a little bit wider because I want to spread my hands in the pockets, and I can't do that because of the narrowness of them, which is a bit odd, but you know, it's fine. And yeah, lengthwise you can't really see, but excuse the gorgeous socks. But you know, the extra inch I added to the waist, I mean, that's my natural waist there where I'm putting my hands, and that is exactly where the waistband is sitting on me. And I love the sleeve length, actually. It comes to my elbows, as you can see, and yeah, I really like it in this fabric. I think it's really lovely. So if I turn around, you can see how it fits at the back. As I say, my measurements now would put me in a medium top and a medium to large bottom. So it's the bottom really. The top is, I'm still really happy with the amount of ease I have in there, but the bottoms do feel very, very loose now. But I still think it's very wearable, and I keep reaching for this jumpsuit all the time. Because even at this time of year, in winter, I can just layer it with a cardigan over the top and I'm done. So yeah, I absolutely love it, and I love the girls' versions too. I think, you know, we felt fantastic. We always do this when we get together. We always think about, shall we make something, not obviously exactly the same, but shall we make the same pattern in, you know, a different fabric, and all wear the same pattern, I guess. And it's always good fun. It really is. But, you know, I hope you really have enjoyed looking at our Avenirs, and we'd be really interested to hear if you've made this jumpsuit yourself, and if you have, what you love about it. We'd love to see your pictures. So if you are on Instagram, then, you know, do put some pictures up and tag us as at the Northern Sewl Sisters in your pictures, so we can have a look and share in your gorgeous versions too. That would be really good fun. Right, I am going to leave it there. Thank you for joining us again today. Hopefully we will be back with you really soon, and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you again. Bye.